Hey, welcome back to the Time Catch App channel. I'm glad you're able to join us again, where we talk about all things involving contracting, freelancing, consulting work. And in today's video, I really want to focus on consulting, in particular, talking about payment models, invoiceable activities, and the different types of payment that you may have available to you in your proposals. The idea here is we want to win as much work as we can by allowing the customers to pay us in such a way that's convenient for both us and them. Okay. So what I mean by a consulting organization here, this particular video is designed specifically for consulting organizations, individual consultants, as well as larger organizations. Consultant is someone who's going to be working on specific proposals. So you're going to get work from a client. They're going to ask you to do a specific type of work. You're going to give them a proposal as to how you're going to do that work and the scope of that work. And they're either going to accept it or not. If they accept it, you go through the work. Then at the end, you're done. And hopefully there's another project at the end of that you can work on. Okay, this is not really related to individual contractors who typically get work more through a job interview process, but these are for individuals who are working on a project by project based type of model. Okay, now if you're running a staffing solution or technical solution, you may also have proposals. The same sort of thinking is going to apply to you as well. Okay. Now, I have run consulting organizations. I've run very large ones. I've run small ones. And over my career, I have written hundreds of proposals. So I understand these very well. In my last role, because I understood how to win these and how to interact with clients, I more than doubled the project work over 2 years following some of the principles I've been laying out in these videos. And you can too, just follow the principles and it will increase your chance of winning the work. You don't get to 100%. In my last company, I went from a 30% win rate before I took over to an 80% win rate when I left. That's a big increase, a huge amount of revenue generated from that. I can't guarantee you results like that, but that's indicative of the direction we will head when we're following these principles. Also, keep in mind, you're not going to win every single time, as I mentioned, we got up to 80%. I was more than happy with 80%. In fact, I would have been happy with 50%, but 80% is great, all right? So just accept that you're not going to win every single. Stick to the end of this video, because I'm going to show you how to get a free proposal checklist. I got this beautiful proposal checklist here, 5 pages of detailed information that you should put in your proposals. If they're not being put in your proposals now, well, this is a great checklist to ensure that they are there so that you have the highest chance of winning. At the end of this video, I will show you how to get a hold of it for free, just for asking for it. Okay, and before we get into the meat of this video, please subscribe. It really helps us to grow the channel and allow us to provide more content like this. Okay, now in a consulting proposal, you have a variety of options for what I would call invoiceable activities. And I want to go through them. Okay, we'll talk about some of this and you can see how they're applicable to the work that you are doing. First off, there's the fixed fee version of it. A fixed fee is best for projects with a well-defined scope, and I'm going to talk more about that in a second. The second invoiceable type of activity is time and materials. This is very common in consulting projects. It's not necessarily the best for you, but sometimes it is useful. So let's talk about that as well. There's also a unit-based fee. I don't see this a lot in many project work. It's probably underutilized, but you have it in your quiver as another arrow that you can send out and use to gain more work. And finally, there is the retainer. You see this a lot with big law firms with big clients. They often have a retainer. that will retain people on staff so that they're always available for the particular client. You're probably not going to get this unless you're really in demand and the client wants to hold you off for some sort of activity that they want to do and they want to retain you for your availability. But I found in most project works in the technical sphere, it's not used very often. Okay, so let's talk about the fixed price projects. It is really best if you have a well-defined scope. Right, so if you know what you're doing, you have your scope of work defined, you have some specifications of some sort, and you know the process for producing the outcome, then the fixed price deliverable type of contract is really useful in that situation. And the reason it's useful is because if you're more efficient than you think at accomplishing it, well, you pocket the same amount of money, whether you're really fast or really slow. So you're taking on the risks of that, not the client. The client is going to be paying a fixed amount regardless of how much time it takes you to do it. It doesn't matter to them. You're really pricing it on value to your clients. And this can be really powerful. I want to give you an example of that. So we had a consulting process where we were identifying subpopulations in clinical environments as subpopulations which were really amenable to a type of a treatment. We sold this as a fixed price deliverable. I didn't charge time and materials, I want a fixed price. And the reason for that is we had a software solution that allowed us to do it really efficiently. And therefore, we could charge a higher rate, frankly, because we were providing value for the client. And how much time we spent didn't really matter to the client because we were delivering the value. The result is that we made very large margins on that particular service because we were good at it. We had the process in place. We could do it repeatedly with different clients. They bought it. They wanted the fixed price because they didn't want the variability that will come with other options. And so they could put it in their budgets as well. It was a win-win for all. And we made a lot of money using that particular invoiceable type of activity. But there are dangers to this. So in your proposal, make the scope of work very sharp with quantitative boundaries. You don't want it to be fuzzy boundaries. You want really sharp boundaries so that everyone knows when you're crossing the boundary. At that point, you can have a change of scope. You don't want to debate about it. You don't want the client to think one thing and you think another. Because if it's fuzzy, that will happen. And that really hurts your relationship. It's just easier for all if it's very sharp boundaries. Also on the out of scope work, you got to be careful because this is really amenable to out of scope activities happening. And what is out of scope? It's something that is not in your proposal. You didn't price for it and the client is asking for it. Now, sometimes out of scope is very small and minimal. You're not going to upset your relationship with the client for it. I would typically budget in about a 10% loss for out of scope activities. Anything above that is a problem, but 10%, I'm good with that. That keeps the relationship with the customer in good standing. But you do want to watch out for that because you say the customer asks for something that's a 1% activity. Okay, can do that. Another 1% activity. Okay. And keep going on this. By the time you get to 20, 30 of this, you're now 20, 30% over budget, right? You've got 20%, 30% more work that you've delivered to the client than what they're paying for. And you don't want that. So keep the out of scope work to a minimum. It adds up. You want to keep track of that. So when you do have an out of scope work, I would let the client know this is out of scope, but I'm going to do it just for the customer relationship. It's not worth billing you for this. But if it adds up too much, we're going to have to adjust for that. Okay. All right. That leads us to the next most popular, well, actually, it's probably the most popular method for creating invoiceable activity, which is the time and materials. This is where the customer is actually paying you for your time. And I use this in the situations where I really don't know what activity is going to be necessary. If the activities are exploratory, if decisions coming up and I might have to do something new, I might have to engage in someone else, depending on how things go, that is a great situation for a time and materials type of project. It's when you don't have the specifications, you're winging it. If you're programming a new system, and you don't really have the specs because you're going to see how things work and then change things, that is really the fit for our time and materials. Now, a handy warning to this, you will want to put a cap in. You want to propose a cap for any time and materials. The clients probably don't want this thing to be open-ended and go on forever for however much money you can bill them. You want to put a cap in there. Also, when you're doing this, you want to be tracking your time carefully and documenting what you're doing along the way. Decisions you're making, why you're doing the things, because they're going to look at this and say, well, why did you spend so many hours for something that seems so simple? And you're going to want the documentation of why that was really complicated. That's why timecatchapp.com has notes in there. So you can just add notes in there every time slice as to what you're doing. So therefore you can document why you're doing what you're doing, when you're doing it. You don't have to go back, look through memory. It's all there documented automatically for you. It really helps with the discussions with the clients when they come back next month. And why did you do that? And you say, well, I can't remember. Well, if you have time catch up, of course, remember because it's right there in your documentation. So be careful of that. I've seen that multiple times. If the information is not clear, I have seen clients come back and says, well, I don't think it should have taken that long. It should have taken half that time. Give me a refund. And if you don't have the contemporary information recorded, I've been forced to give the refunds. And that is painful. So you don't want that. You want to be recording the information. And that gives us next sort of a combination of time and materials and the fixed price, which is the unit based. Now, this is where I know the type of things I want to deliver. I just don't know how many of them I'm going to deliver. I mean, if you think of time and materials as sort of like that, except what am I delivering? I'm delivering hours. That's what I'm billing for. In this one, I'm delivering deliverables, whatever it is. I have so many deliverables. I don't know how many they're going to be. That's unit-based contracting. That's when I have an unknown number of distinct things to produce. Example, I'm managing a telephone line, and each call is a unit. Okay, that's an example. Another example, I'm creating web pages, and every page is a unit. I don't know how many web pages are going to create for this website because it's going to change over time, but every one is a particular unit. I can price that. I just don't know how many of them they can put on the contract. Again, you probably want to put a cap on the number of units you're going to get, and that's the client is the one who's actually controlling them. And then in which case, let it go. The client can, the more the merrier. Okay. So that's a great way of doing that. And then because it's sort of a fixed and sort of a time, it's sort of the best of both worlds for these sort of situations where you have consistent numbers of same sort of thing. As you get more efficient at doing those things, the number of hours you spend doing it actually goes down and the revenue goes up. Very, very useful. Now, all of these activities, you're going to have to invoice to your clients. So you're going to have to keep track of the things you've done month to month and make sure you're not double billing, you're not under billing. If it's done in a month, you want to bill it. You don't want to bill it twice or something that's done once. And the clients get very angry with that. Okay. And as a bonus tip on the invoice, I like to put the logo of my client on my invoice. I'm billing you, you get the logo in the invoice. It's just a nice little touch. It makes them feel like, oh, I'm getting something just for me. I'm the number one client. This invoice is just for them. You got the name, but yeah, put the logo in there too. That's a nice touch. Doesn't take much time. Add it in. All right, now, if you want automated invoicing, so you can get your time and materials, you get your fixed deliverables, whatever's been done on the unit base, however many you've got, put them all in one invoice and send that to the client automatically. Time Catch app has that for you. All right, it'll put the logo onto the bill automatically as well. So you don't even have to worry about it. It just automatically happens. It will track what things have been done and what have been billed. It will never bill twice. And everything that is ready for billing will be billed automatically. You don't need to keep track of it. It keeps track of it for you. Makes life so much easier. You don't have to do the reconciliation. So if you want to get that, head on over to timecatchapp.com and get that invoicing automatically. And as a bonus, if you sign up for an account at Time Catch App, you will get a proposal template automatically. You'll get the whole proposal template. You can take it, you can modify it for your type of processes. And what I would do is I would take the proposal template, I would modify it for the things that I need for my particular client. And then I would put it in my account as a template that I can then use on every single proposal. Now, if you're not quite ready for the invoicing yet, you can also get a proposal checklist here. You get this for free just for asking for it. Go here to the contact page, fill in the information, my name, my email address, and the details, but free proposal checklist. And you're going to get the PDF of this proposal checklist right in your inbox, delivered from me. So go ahead and do that now. While you're still thinking about it, it'll take you just 5 seconds and you'll get that, and it'll help you make your proposals more consistent and more professional looking. All right, I'll talk with you on the next video.